Medical Intuitive Insights with your host, Dr. Gloria Warren, is a program that presents topics on medical intuition, holistic opportunities outside of mainstream society, and scientific research as applied today. Topics range from online intuitive readings to interviews unveiling alternative healing modalities and discussing them with inspirational leaders. Dr. Warren is the bridge within holistic arts while stressing the balance between the spiritual and physical self. So now, please welcome the host of Medical Intuitive Insights, Dr. Gloria Warren.
What if your body is not just chemical, but vibrational? What if your heart, your brain, and even your cells are constantly producing signals, rhythms per se, and even frequencies that influence how you feel, think, and function? And what if those frequencies are just a continuation of the universal frequencies? Perhaps healing is not only about what we consume, but also about the signals we experience. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Medical Intuitive Insights, where we explore deeper connections between science, the human body, and unseen patterns that influence your health. Today, we're exploring human vibrations and healing, the science and frequency. We'll be providing specific sound vibrations, by the way, throughout the show. They can help support relaxation, emotional balance, nervous system regulation, even your sleep patterns, which are foundational to overall health. So let's get started, shall we? The body as an electrical and vibrational system. When we think about the human body, we often think in terms of chemistry, hormones, nutrients, and neurotransmitters. But there is another layer. The body is also electrical. Every nerve impulse is an electrical signal. Every heartbeat is regulated by electrical activity. The brain communicates through electrical patterns. Yeah, I did say that. We measure these brain waves too. In fact, both the heart and brain generate measurable electromagnetic fields. This means the body is not just chemical. It is also bioelectrical and vibrational. They're systems as well. So there's much more to that. At the cellular level, the cells communicate through electrical gradients, ion exchange, and signal pathways. These create rhythms, frequencies. For example, a binaural beat frequency range, more scientifically grounded. These relate to brainwave states, which are measurable. So welcome to our show, Nurse Peggy from the Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith. Hi, Peggy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm very happy to be here today. This is one of my favorite topics.
Oh, yes. I think you have a certificate or something with vibrational medicine of sorts.
Interactive
medicine
is one of the techniques that I practice.
But that's what I wanted to hear.
It's all over ever since childhood, I've been enjoying the vibrations of music, and they've been supporting my life growing up.
Oh, how wonderful. I know with my kids, when they were smaller, I used to do beats with them, and I do it on their legs and their different muscles to make another connection through to their brainwave patterns as well. All these IQ things I used to do.
So if you think about how children play, like when they're jump roping and all, that's they're responding to the same kind of patterns and beats, and they don't even know why they're attracted to that or why they're good at it. But it has a lot of benefit playing games like that.
I miss those games. Maybe I should start jump roping again. I don't know. But yes, the brainwave frequency range and the different states. We have delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma frequencies. So when I said deep sleep, that was delta, from 0.5 to 4 hertz, the deep sleep and restoration. It helps to restore your deep sleep patterns. I know a lot of people have problems with that. I know many of your patients have problems with that, and so do mine. But it if you need to have deep sleep, there are things that you could do to help support your sleep to make it easier for you. And theta, the meditation, that's in creativity. That is where, when I would teach people how to hear messages and speak to another dimensional, whatever, this would be the theta waves. This is what I try to get them at. And then, we take them downward. Well, we would start with gamma, the high level cognition, and then alertness and thinking. And then we go to alpha, relaxation, get them to relax and be a calm focus. And then theta, we go deeper down into a meditative state. A lot of communication there. A lot of people. I mean, how many times do you wake up at 2, 3 in the morning because your brain is just like learning something or getting messages? I get all my messages then.
So some of my messages at that time of the day are, somebody wants to go outside and piddle. Uh,
Oh,
Inappropriate.
well, that
But a lot
that
of
does
times
matter.
it's recommended that you keep a pad of paper next to your bed on the nightstand, actually, so that it's so common that people wake up with, some really profound ideas sometimes, especially people more leaning to a creative. And you won't remember it in the morning. So it's why you keep the pad of paper there to jot it down.
Right. Jot it down because in the morning you won't remember. You'll be like, I know I woke up and I really wanted to do something. I did that. I'm looking for a nom de plume. And last night, in the middle of the night, I came up with the perfect name. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Okay, I'm going to go to sleep now. I woke up, I'm like, okay, what was that? I didn't write it down. Shame on me. Shame on me.
So, well, a lot of people that are conditioned as children maybe to believe that they're not very creative for whatever influences they
Hmm.
have in their life at that time. You can actually expose yourself to those waves to encourage we all have all of the same potential. We just
Right.
don't access it, and we don't use even 1/10 of our brain, or we use only
Hmm.
1/10 of our brain. There's like 90% of it there that we're sitting there not being used.
Yeah. And it's a shame too. I think we lost 10% of our brain in the last several thousand years. Our brains have actually been shrinking. And I don't think that was meant to be. I
Well,
think we were meant to develop
well,
it, but not have it
autopsies
shrink.
show that dementia patients do have smaller brains, a higher level of shrinkage than the average
Right.
human. But I just heard about how children were affected negatively during the change in routines and lack of stimulation during COVID. And
Oh,
they're
mhm.
actually, cognitively not able to, high level thinking processes were damaged during that time because they didn't have the group stimulation playing with children, and the normal things that happens when you're in nature and with the pack of animals. That's how you learn to be whatever your
Right.
species is. So.
Yeah. Maybe that's my problem. No. Um, I think everybody had a little bit of a problem from that. So anyways, though, these frequencies per se, they reflect how the brain operates in different states. This is a science. This is not something we made up. This is not something that we are just trying to say, hey, we noticed this and this works. This is an actual science with hardcore research from medical communities and scholarly research. It is not just somebody sitting there writing it all down and publishing it as research. Okay, so we do have some of those research things that we will publish at the end of the program. It'll be put into the comments section. So there are some scientific research, uh, clinical studies that were done, especially on what we just mentioned. The alpha, beta, gamma, theta, the brainwave frequency range. That is very neurologically astute, and they use that. Neurologists look at that every day. So with each
Well, I
segment, though,
actually met for the first time a patient I had met previously. She turns out by career she's a music therapist, and I
mm,
mentioned the topic of the show, and just right off the top of her head, she said, "Make sure you say this and this," and she knows even more specifically some of the topics that we were discussing, earlier,
yeah.
and how well they work. Where she works with her, mostly young or brain injured. She works with a lot of special needs children. Um, and
Oh, she
especially
needs to know a lot of that. Yes, she
and
deals.
nonverbal, children, on the spectrum, or just, that were, whether, brain injuries or whatever, they respond very basically on an innate level to these music therapies and the techniques that, we're going to be talking about today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, within each of these segments of the show, we'll provide specific frequencies and sound-based practices. But what's really important to remember is it is not doesn't need to be the exact number on frequency, the level of frequency. I mean, it's always good to get those exactly, but it's more about how sound influences the central nervous system, not just the central nerve, just nerves in general, helping the body shift into a more relaxed and regulated state, such as with music, like Peggy has mentioned. Music has such an influence on our own electrical current throughout our bodies. It's wonderful.
My
So,
mother, who came from an Eastern European background, on
mhm.
Saturdays, that was her cleaning day, and she always played polka music in the background, which, as a kid, you
So
think it's kind of
happy.
corny. But
Yeah.
I realized that she did that because it stimulated her and it gave her the energy that she needed to get the chores done in a pleasant way. And,
Yeah.
uh,
I
it
do that.
wasn't
I turn it
yeah.
fast music. Yeah. Please, and everybody out there, remember that if you need to clean your house, turn on some really fast beat music and lively and cheerful, joyous, and go ahead and clean and sing and enjoy it. It can be very therapeutic. So, so these actual frequencies help coordinate how the body functions as a whole. It isn't just, oh, my ear doesn't hurt now. It's the whole body, it's everything. So when these signals are balanced, the body operates efficiently. When they become disrupted, though, systems may begin to lose coordination. So it's a system, so everything is connected. So I think, the nerves coming from the brain through the medulla oblongata and down into the spinal cord, and, all of these nerves are connected. Something happens over here, it's also going to be affected over here, as well as up here and down there. You may not notice it as much. It's kind of like, oh, my knee hurts. It hurts so bad. I can't think of anything else. Okay, let me take care of it. And he hits the toe. What do you notice then? You notice the toe, not the knee. So there are other things happening. You just may not notice it at that time.
Well, that's
So
why the
sound,
conversation with your doctor, every time I stand up, my leg hurts when the doctor says, well, then why are you standing? Just sit down all the time. And
right. Like we can do that. I wouldn't want to do that. I'm too hyper for that. So sound frequency, rhythm with music, voice tone, humming. And like the Tibetan monks, the ones that I worked with before, they're chanting. They do a lot of chanting, a lot of local vocal sounds like rumblings. Like it's great. And it really affects the human body. And environmental sounds sometimes can help too. If you hear something in the distance and it's a good beat or something, think about that rhythm going on there. Maybe you can absorb some of it and
Well,
then
if you think
process.
about the environment with, like in nature before a storm, they're feeling the vibrations of the electrical
Mhm.
storm that's still, hundreds of miles up in the sky. But if you watch the animals, they respond to those vibrations and they know to protect themselves and go for cover.
Right. They can hear the thunder miles and miles away. When they feel the vibration in the earth, they know when an earthquake is coming. They found that out. They watch the animals in the zoos and they act differently when they know in California, they know that a bigger earthquake is coming by watching the animals. I mean, they feel that vibration. So, and the nervous system response is not just auditory, with the ears and the brain. You have the limbic system, your emotions, and the autonomic nervous system, which is the sympathetic, which means S for sympathetic for stress. I learned that from Coach Mike. Parasympathetic means calm. It's the vagus nerve activation. So it's really kind of cool. The body response, heart rate changes, breathing slows, deepens, muscle relaxation, hormone regulation, emotional state shifts. If you have an active household, maybe play some soft music and a sense of calm. So sound is not just heard, it is processed by the nervous system and translated into a physiological response throughout the body. So we are going to take a quick commercial break. You're listening to Medical Intuitive Insights, where we bridge science, perception, and the human health. Before we continue, let's take a brief break. Be right.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. Understanding the human body requires more than just looking at symptoms alone. Topic today is human vibrations and healing, the science and frequency. We have Nurse Peggy here as our guest as well. And we were discussing educational programs focused on self-sustainability, environmental health, and systems-based thinking are helping individuals explore how lifestyle, the environment, and biology interact. You know, frequencies are just expanded all over the place, and we use them. She uses them with her patients even. I use them with everybody, even when I have a drum circle. It's all about the rhythm and what it does to the psyche and the mind and the body. It's phenomenal. So programs offer practical insights into how the body responds to modern living. So let's look at our next segment here, frequency, rhythm, and coherence. When we hear sound, it's not just an experience in our ears. That signal moves through the nervous system, influencing the heart rate, our breathing, and even how relaxed or alert we feel, in the sense that sound becomes a biological input that the body responds to. The body operates through rhythm. Think about it. The heart rate, breathing patterns, sleep cycles, brainwave activity. These are all rhythmic processes. Remember, the body is electrical. So the nerves are just the wires, right, Peggy? In my book,
and when you're talking about the electrical, can you touch on how important, why the spinal cord is connected to our brain? And because I've experienced with many sports injuries and other things, maybe you toppled over and thought you broke your collarbone, but your spinal cord is vibrating like clear the other end of your body, and just autonomically. And that's a good example of how things are connected. It's like when you overload your circuits at home, if you can't run too many appliances at once, you realize, how important it is to balance those stimulation.
That's interesting, because when I consider how the spinal cord is attached to the central nerves and the nerves and everything, I always think of an octopus. They don't have those nerves, but yet the cells communicate, and each tentacle is doing its own thing. And it's like, where do these things come together? Is there an actual master key to all of this when it happens? Well, in the human body, there is. It's called the brain. But, the body itself can feel vibration in the air. If you put your hand up and you're hearing loud music, you can feel it in the palm of your hand or even in your fingertips. Let's say you're at a concert and there's this real loud drumming or something. Go ahead and feel it. Go like this with your hands, rub them, desensitize them, or actually sensitize them in this case. And you'll be able to feel more energy in the air just from holding your hand up. Your whole body can feel things. You ever be near some people and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, my stomach hurts? Well, guess what? They give off electrical current, and maybe that's repulsive to your body in some way. Maybe those are people you shouldn't be near. Self-sustainability, don't let them in your house. So,
when you're talking about some vibrations, and if we think about the studies, scientific studies with both dolphins and whale communication, obviously the whole ocean is nothing but vibrations.
Right, it's like sonar, and the ocean's filled.
But that we can learn a lot about our own, physiology and how our systems are working by just watching the studies that we've seen with whales and dolphins especially.
Yeah. Yeah. See, even like sharks, they say, when does a shark know there's somebody in distress? They want to go there. It's the vibration in the water, or they can hear, like almost like using a sonar themselves. They can hear, like they know if it's like a human being by the type of noise they're hearing, or if it's a manatee or a seal or something like that. They know, and that's all through vibration. So health is often associated with coherence. When these rhythms are synchronized and functioning harmoniously, when systems are in coherence, energy is used efficiently. Communication between systems is clear, and the body adapts more effectively. But when stress environment exposure or environmental exposures are such, or lifetime factor interferences, these rhythms can become disrupted. This is sometimes described as dysregulation. And let me give you an example of that. Here we go back again. Irregular sleep patterns, rapid or shallow breathing, inconsistent heart rate patterns, chronic stress signaling, fight or flight. We keep mentioning fight or flight. We go through fight or flight more often than we believe, but it happens. So,
Well, on the traditional side of medicines and related, many times we're having what we think is just an anxiety attack or something doesn't feel right, but it actually could be, especially if it's in your family or have a history of cardiac issues. It could be the wires in your heart are misfiring, which causes irregular heartbeat, which means the blood doesn't flow. You're not getting the oxygen to your brain, the other parts of your body. So these electrical currents are, both medically and physiologically and influenced by emotional anxiety type issues.
yeah.
That's never just discount, oh, I'm just anxious, women especially they don't have the same symptoms of a heart attack that a man typically does. But so often, oh, you've got a dull ache in your shoulder. Well, maybe I picked up too many heavy boxes, No, maybe you're having a heart attack and you just haven't died from it yet. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
it's important that, that we always remember that.
Yeah, that's where I fall short. Last month, and my shoulder was killing me, but I did check my heart and I listened to it and everything, and I checked it every now and then. Everything seemed to be stable, and I was lifting boxes, but even then, you just never know. I mean, even lifting boxes can cause a heart attack, and you can have a sore shoulder from it. But thank goodness I have my stethoscope and checked myself, but I was starting to wonder at some point, because it was a couple days later I was on and off having the problem. But yeah, but it's proof though that all the frequencies, it's within a whole system, and those frequencies, even if it affects you hear something in your ears, can affect your whole body, even down to your toes. Or let's say you step on something that's sharp, it's going to affect your whole body all the way up to your brain. Even your arms will be affected, because it puts your whole body in a state of shock to a certain extent, a certain level of shock. So it's an electrical current that it does spread. It's not just one place. It's not like, okay, there's the target zone. That's what we got to look forward to. No, it's everything in your body.
And
So,
therapeutically, and it used to be considered holistic modalities and everything, research, stroke research and
mm,
traumatic brain injuries. Unfortunately, we're going to see some more brain injuries, out from our activities in the Middle East. Uh, they used to think that your neurological system did not regenerate if it was once deemed dead, parts of your bodies didn't work. They tried to give you adaptive equipment to substitute. They're learning though now, they have been, for years, not just recently, that our nervous system is just so wonderful that it actually does regenerate. Um, I remember being in junior high school in biology, cutting up a paramecium, little wormy fishy thing. I don't even know what. I guess it was a worm family. But then we could watch it right in front of us in the petri dish grow the other half of their body that we just cut off. And
yeah.
so when I was older in college and learned about how the brain does regenerate things, it's like, you know, sometimes the most obvious, simple answers are by looking at the most basic biological creatures that are on our planet, and we've just
How true.
sophisticated.
Hmm.
The interactive metronome that I do, it actually teaches your brain parts of your brain that you haven't accessed before to replace skills that maybe the damaged part doesn't. So this is just such a wonderful field. It's not the end of the world if, half your body isn't responding like you were used to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But we do know like stress and anxiety actually happens at around a 396 hertz or a 528 hertz in the alpha waves as well. So just we do have things when things happen to the body, like sleep issues, they deal with delta waves at a zero point 0.5 to 4 hertz or a 432 hertz. These can actually be remedied or assisted, these problems, by using those hertz as well. You can have problems where you can actually cure problems, not necessarily cure. It will assist problems. And that's the other thing. You can't listen always to AI because AI will say, there is no scientific data about this. Oh, yes, there is. There is from universities and scholars, and there's a lot of data from studies that they have done. So keep that in mind. I wrote some books on that actually, and keep that in mind because you can actually go online and go to Google Scholar or something, and you can actually look up things about these waves. Focusing, brain fog, beta waves, 40 hertz, gamma waves. And then pain, 0.74 hertz, emotional balance, 0.17 hertz or 639 hertz. Meditation, theta waves, 4 to 8 hertz and 963 hertz. I think that's right, 963. Yes. So these things can be helped. I think you need to think of the root cause of the problem. Why are you having emotional imbalance? And why do you need the emotional balancing of frequencies? What's going on in your lives? You know, think about what's happening in your life and what is causing the problems. It's not always like a an acute situation that happens all of a sudden. Oh, I fell down the stairs and broke my leg. It could be something that is gnawing at you, and that's can become a problem, like the kitty in the background gnawing.
You
So,
can
but
hear it start to look at.
come join the show. Everyone's welcome. So, from a systems perspective, though, healing may involve restoring the right rhythm and coherence of that throughout your body, not just correcting isolated symptoms. And that's why we're going to mention some of the waves as we go on. You want to try to correct the whole body in coherence, not just the symptoms. So you're listening to Medical Intuitive Insights, and today we're exploring the role of vibration and frequency in the human health scenario. So let's pause briefly. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Master of words, powerful player, What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back to Medical Intuitive Insights. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Warren, and we have Peggy Smith. Nurse Peggy Smith is here with us today, but we are talking about frequencies in the human body. So modern health challenges are often complex and interconnected. Our whole body is interconnected and electrical. So education programs focus on integrated health, environmental awareness, and biological systems, helping individuals understand connections. By learning how the body responds to stress, environment, and lifestyle, people can make more informed decisions about their well-being. So back to the discussion. Sound, vibration, and the human experience. Sound is one of the most direct ways we experience vibration. Love sound, right? Sound waves interact with the human body through auditory system, in other words, your ears, your nervous system, the sensory processing pathways. Think about how music affects you. A certain sound can calm your body, elevate your mood, trigger memories, and change energy levels. This is not just emotional. I know, Peggy, when I have a problem with my energy, one of the first things I'd like to do is turn on some good, joyous, fast music and feel the rhythm, and then I clean my house usually, what we were talking about. But I really feel that music can change your mind. And I don't like to listen to things that pull me down. I like to listen to things that bring me up. So what about you? You like a lot of different music, or?
I found that different types of music, of course, influence our moods and, our reactions to our environment that we're in. But sometimes, without naming the song because we haven't, done the copyright thing, sounds of silence actually have their own vibrations, which can be very peaceful and calming. And
Absolutely.
people don't always think of silence as part of the calming vibrations. And I was thinking about what draws people to structured religions when they go to church, and thinking about I have a very eclectic religious background, and we all go depending on your religious direction that you've been raised in. We go to hear the word of our higher powers that that guide us, but I think most people get more out of services that actually have music. Uh, and
Right.
when they and even for adults that have maybe gotten away from their various childhood churches, what brings them back sometimes is just a yearning for the comfort that they received. They didn't even know that the music was comforting back then. But
Yeah.
and crazy as it sounds, I've noticed, I've talked on my show about the binaural beat meditations that are available on YouTube. And they've got them from things like for ADD, any medical problem, any mental health problem there is. I was trying to listen to one related to ADD, which is supposed to be more focusing and that type of thing, because everybody in my
Mm.
family's ADD. Well, apparently it had a very negative effect on my animal pack. I mean, they
Wow.
immediately got, I wouldn't say vicious, but they got very much more aggressive. They were not calm at all. Um,
Hmm.
and I switched to trying a few other different patterns and everything. I ended up, crazy as it sounds, putting on the prayer of Saint Francis, because he's the patron saint of animals. And animals stopped and laid down and were calm, like within 2 minutes. And if I didn't see it, I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
So our higher powers have a lot more influence, and this universe wasn't just randomly put together. Everything has a
Right.
purpose that exists on this planet, in this universe.
Yeah, it makes me think, did they hear something in that music that maybe my conscious mind was not connecting to, but maybe my subconscious mind may be or
I'm
not?
sure, because they certainly didn't understand words that go with any of these songs.
Right, right,
It was definitely the music and the vibrations. Um,
right.
and my
So
whole
changing the energy level,
my house, seemed to be better after
right.
that.
Changing those energy levels and elevating your mood, or in her case, the animal's mood got them agitated. So it's not just emotional, it's physiological. Sound can influence the heart rate, breathing patterns, nervous system activity. Historically, many cultures intentionally use sound practices such as chanting, drumming, tonal breathing were also used to create a rhythmic pattern, stimulation for the body. Further practices in ancient civilizations in our modern day include frequency targeting, listening. That's what we're trying to do with those frequencies. You're trying to target the frequencies in this show. So we'll get to that. So, and listening during sleep, a lot of people are taking those targeted frequencies and listening during sleep or listening during your work time. These practices may help regulate the central nervous system, emotional states, and group synchronization. From a modern perspective, we can view these as forms of rhythmic regulation. There's so many different types of frequencies. It's not one type that fits all. And in this section, I want to talk about the Savigio frequencies. And these are the ones most widely shared. These are the ones you probably go into on YouTube or other channels and you say, okay, I have pain. I want to get rid of my pain. What hertz should I listen to? So to help support pain, we look at 174 hertz. May promote some relaxation and comfort, and overall, you may get a relief from that pain. Um, Tissue healing would be at 285 hertz. Let's say you had surgery, you want to heal a little faster. It's associated with restorative sound practices throughout time. So it will also help to promote some of the tissue healing. So to get rid of fear in your home or fear in general, people with PTSD, they may find some comfort with a 396 hertz. It's used for emotional release. Maybe some deep breathing teamed up with it would really help. Um, then we have, like, if you're approached with change, like maybe you need to move, or maybe your job has changed. So 417 hertz associated with transition and adaptation, readaptation, I should say, into your new environment. You may want to listen to a 417 hertz. The DNA repair, we talk about this one in our cellular regeneration protocol, and our whole thing we do in Mexico, our workshops. So often 528 hertz, often linked to calmness and balance. And they've noted some things with research about repair of the DNA. So it went down to microscopic. And you'll get some of those references in the comments section when we're finished with the show. So in relationships, you're having difficulty with relationships, associated with emotional harmony between the two of you. You may want to play in your home a little 639 hertz. Okay. Trying to detox, one of the things we can use to detox is music, and that's at 741 hertz, linked to mental clarity. You can call these things up, but just keep in mind, I think we were discussing last night, Peggy and I were discussing it. Sometimes what you find on the channels online are not exactly what you need. You may need something a little more in depth, or maybe that was an expert I was talking to about that. But awareness, we got a couple more I want to mention. Awareness associated with calm and focus. This is something I may listen to while I'm trying to knock out a book and write a book or something. That's 852 hertz. Great for the work environment. It creates calm, but it also helps focus. And then to reach a higher consciousness, deep relaxation and meditative state and things of that nature, playing a 963 hertz definitely would help with that. So there are different ones, and these are just a drop in the bucket compared to how many frequencies you can listen to or hear. And remember, it's not the specific numbers. It could be just like 962 instead of 963, but each note you play has a different hertz. So you can listen to it, target the notes that you hear. Let's say you find something that says, oh, this one is for an injured finger, listen to it and hear what notes are they playing there. What is that note, and isolate it and play that note in other songs as well. You don't have to always play their tapes. Okay. These frequencies are used in sound practices to promote relaxation, emotional balance, and also research has shown it can help with certain situations. So, and I know, Peggy, you were mentioning we were going to mention chakras, and there was another area you wanted to mention. Feel free.
Okay, well, the chakras, when things are not balanced, with good homeostasis, you have to clear the chakras, and there's a variety of different energy things that can do that. But none of these ideas that we're presenting are new, and it's been shown to be across the cultures, as a survival method, even. If you look back in early America during our slave time chapters of our history, the Negro spirituals, they were healing for them. They gave them hope. They gave them calmness. And, when we talk about mindfulness on other shows, these are just tools that actually can increase your mindfulness. And it's not necessarily what you're listening to even or the megahertz. It's you're communicating with yourself by getting, by true mindfulness, being aware, increasing your awareness. And you can detox yourself with music, but that means that you still have to follow these episodes or practice periods with lots of water, because detoxing is not effective if we don't flush out. When you get a massage, they give you a bottle of water so that you can drink and flush out, the toxins that they've stirred up in the massage process. And musical massage is actually a term used in musical therapy. It's used with premature babies. It's reduced the stress of, babies that are born at like 22, 24 weeks. They grow a lot faster with fewer complications if the baby's nursery is playing music.
Right.
Back in the 70s, when I was having children, there was a theory that you could influence what your future child was going to be leaning towards. And I was working as a research chemist at the time. I read lots of scientific journals. Okay, I'm going to have a brilliant child who's in the same field. My daughter, the first child, is actually an aerospace engineer. I didn't know that when she was 18 months and the next child came, but I had decided during that pregnancy, well, just in case this works, I don't want everybody to be the same. I played all kinds of music because I have a musical background. That child has his own music company. And, and so it sounds corny, but I think the universe, connects with the energy that you're directing in whatever direction you want. And that's how we heal ourselves, and that's how we affect positive change.
That makes perfect sense. So before we conclude, we're going to have another final message. You're listening to Medical Intuitive Insights, where we explore the deeper layers of human health. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Master of words, powerful player. What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life.
Welcome back for our final segment. We're so happy you could be with us here today. Health is not just the absence of disease. It's the result of how well the body communicates and adapts. Educational programs focus on systems thinking, stress physiology, and environmental health, and they're helping individuals rediscover the foundations of well-being, a lot of it from ancient times. These programs emphasize awareness, balance, and practical application. So now let's discuss healing as regulation and balance. If the body is both chemical and vibrational, meaning electrical, then healing may involve more than one pathway. Sound enters through the ears, is interpreted in the brain, and influences the autonomic nervous system, and ultimately produces measurable changes in the body's physiology. From a systems perspective, healing can be understood as restoring balance and improving communication within the body. This may include supporting the nervous system, improving sleep patterns, reducing chronic stress, and creating consistent daily rhythms, practices per se. Even the simple practices can influence the body's state. Slow, controlled breathing. I've talked about this. By the way, I'll be doing a slow breathing meditation that you can close your eyes and listen to. It's only going to be 5 minutes long. It's going to be wonderful. That'll be the Saturday evening. So this Saturday evening at 7 p.m. So it'd be nice to have you all join. It's free and you'll appreciate it. Trust me. So quiet time without, so these simple practices, quiet time without stimulation. This can also influence your body. That breathing, of course, and gentle movement. That's where like things like Tai Chi and Qigong, oh my gosh. It really resets my brain, especially Qigong. Exposure to natural environments. And nature really has a key role in this. You know, the sounds of nature and the rhythm of nature, being outdoors. There's actually a rhythm if you stop and listen. The birds are very rhythmic. And all the other things, the frogs, that's my thing. I love frogs. Body tapping. I do body tapping. If I'm in traffic and it's totally backed up, let's say downtown Chicago, and you're not going anywhere for at least 20 minutes, you know, you can sit and tap on things and feel things in different places. It shifts your mind. It relaxes you. It's really good. It helps to relax the body as well. I even do tapping. When I used to do shiatsu, I would do that on people. Changes and shifts your brain, your whole entire mind and your emotions. It's wonderful. So it shifts them basically towards the state of regulation and recovery. So it helps support recovery. More evidence-based insights. Music therapy can reduce stress and anxiety. And I believe that Peggy mentioned music therapy. I think you mentioned, or maybe it was a previous discussion, about how the musical therapists you talked to had so many different ideas. It was amazing that it really surprised you. Rhythmic sound, too, can regulate breathing
For a
and
long
heart
time,
rate.
music therapists were associated with mental health issues and therapies, but they're finding that
Mhm.
they have a role in all physical rehabilitation.
Yeah, exactly. So, we can all use some of that. So, slow tempo sounds. Sometimes you don't want fast music to clean the house. Sometimes maybe you want a slow tempo sound just to relax. I like smooth jazz at night when I'm cooking dinner and, pour half a glass of wine or something and pour some in the food too, the Julia Child thing. But those slow tempo sounds promote parasympathetic calming activity. It's very calming, relaxing, and it's a different level of enjoyment. It's wonderful the different levels we can enjoy things on. Repetitive tones can support meditative stress. Um, you know, Even hearing a drummer. I used to know somebody, he was the best drummer I've ever heard in my life. Loved what he did and always did it with a smile on his face. But the repetitiveness was magnificent. When I had my children, I'd always do beats on their back, and their legs and, their hands. I'd have them do. And then I'd remember just putting the pots down in the kitchen and they'd beat them like drums when they were little kids. I didn't need toys. We had enough. The benefit is less about specific number and hertz. Remember that. And more about the rhythm, repetition, nervous system response, and emotional perception. If you don't like the way it sounds, though, change it. If you go to a hertz like, say, 365, and let's say this is the one I wanted, you don't like it, change it. That's not going to work for you. Not everybody is exactly the same. We're all variants of nature. We don't have the exact same robotic template of wires and everything else. So the key idea is not that we control every signal. We don't want to. We want to live our lives as human beings, but we can influence the environment that the body responds to. So I wanted to thank you, Peggy, for joining us. It's always a joy.
I did enjoy it. I want to also point out it doesn't have to cost money to take part in this. But one of the best ways to start your day, regardless of how musically talented you are, is singing in the shower. You can create an energy
Oh,
to go. Really,
sorry.
really does change your focus and get you started on the day. Doesn't matter how well you sing or don't sing. Your
Exactly.
body doesn't know the difference. But thank you for
So
having me. This has been enlightening, and look forward to the next time.
So Peggy has a show called The Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith. It's wonderful. Check it out. She's always brings things home into your own living room. So today we explore the human body. It's not just a collection of chemicals, but also vibrational. If you need to get a hold of me, 715-892-7500. Text is best. If you want to join our boot camp, text me BC or boot camp. And if you want to get involved in that cellular regeneration protocol, please text me and I'll send you the information. Remember, the body's always signals through sensations and through patterns. Holistic takeaway: sound and vibration can help support relaxation, emotional balance, and the nervous system regulation, which are foundational overall health. Take care and stay aware. There, for the grace of God, go I, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
This has been Medical Intuitive Insights with host Dr. Gloria Warren. Tune in each week as Gloria shares over 40 years of experience and yearns to provide knowledge derived from intuition and research. Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern.